Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got a new Cardfight Vanguard Divinez anime episode review for you guys. It's getting long-winded now because we got the Divinez Deluxe finals. But no, this is season 4, episode 2, Challenge of the Moon. I love that that's the title because the Challenge of the Moon is what they called the episode where Kagetsu went against Akina, and this is Kagetsu's episode. It's him versus Ruka. It's also the first matchup of the Deluxe. So, jumping right in, if you guys enjoy the content, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's jump in and let's talk about the episode. So the episode kicks off with Kagetsu sitting by himself thinking about the matchup with Ruka. And then we actually see Ruka talking to Tamari, and she basically says that she needs to show, the younger generation what she can do, and she's excited for the Deluxe. And then Kagetsu actually steals Akina's line where he says, "To those who reach out their hand," and you see him reaching up toward the moon. And it actually cuts over to Akina real quick. And it's supposed to be, Akina's "A miracle will descend to those who reach out their hand." And yeah, so next scene, we jump over and we're in the arena. We see the announcement for the matchup, and the whole arena is getting hyped up by Tomari. We see Team Blackout, and they're talking about Ruka, because Ruka's the original leader of Team Blackout, so of course everybody's excited to see her play. We cut over to Ruka, and Ruka runs into Danji and Michiru. Turns out Ruka was the opponent that Michiru had played in America. They haven't seen her since America, and she tells Michiru that she's got to get some revenge because apparently Michiru beat her, which Michiru is the GOAT, so I'm not surprised. We see Kagetsu getting ready for his matchup, and he pulls out the jacket. He runs into Now, and Now sees him in the fit, and yeah, he's ready to go. Now we're over. They're both getting ready for the matchup. Ruka says to him that it's been a long time since they fought. Kagetsu is surprised that she remembers him, but she says, "As if I forget, you were so strong." And in Kagetsu's mind, he's thinking, I was one of her hundreds of fights. I doubt she really remembers me, but I'm going to give her a fight to remember. So he gets hyped up. Now, for anybody who's never watched my episode reviews, my fight reviews, understand, guys, there will be some effects that aren't included in the episodes, or at least part of them. For example, their draw for turn and their energy charge 3 for turn. Just assume that those mechanics happen because their hand size keeps growing, their energy resources ends up getting revealed here and there. Just, if I miss it, assume that it wasn't in the episode, but it did happen as far as gameplay wise goes. But now we start the fight. We get to see their starters. Kagetsu, of course, has Envoy of the Moon Repsold. Ruka has One Who Arrived at Paradise Lucent. That's basically the theme of her deck, the One Who Arrived at Paradise. Anyway, turn 1, Kagetsu gets to start off. Kagetsu rides Fall of the Moon Fresnel and uses its skill. Although when this unit is placed by riding from Envoy of the Moon Repsold, reveal a grade 3 advisor Ruka and its card name from your ride deck. Search your deck or hand for up to 1 Moongate. Put into your order zone and search the deck. Shuffle the deck. If you put a card from your hand, you draw a card instead. Now, for anybody that doesn't remember, Moongate is a 1-up in the deck. It literally has a continued effect. You can only have 1 in the deck. So, turn 2, Ruka rides One Who Arrived at Paradise Yotil. Ruka attacks with Yotil. Kagetsu doesn't get a trigger. Ruka attacks with Yotil. Kagetsu doesn't guard. Ruka doesn't get a trigger. Kagetsu takes 1 damage. The turn is over. Damage is 1-0 with Ruka now in the lead. Now we get a little bit of between turn dialogue. Kagetsu tells Ruka that he went back to Blackout to fight her after she had beat him. Ruka really was like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry. It must have been when I started my journey." And yeah, and he basically tells her that he's been waiting this entire time to fight her before he starts his turn. And then he starts his turn 3. Kagetsu rides Vassal of the Moon Ramsden, uses Ramsden's skill. Auto when this unit is placed by riding from Fall of the Moon Fresnel. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You choose up to 2 cards with Mythish in their card name. From among them, reveal them, choose up to 1 card from among the revealed cards, put into hand, put the rest of the revealed cards into the order zone, and shuffle the deck. Off of this skill, Kagetsu adds a copy of Crowing Mythish Ravnarel, and then he calls it. Kagetsu attacks Ruka with Ramsden. Ruka doesn't guard. Kagetsu doesn't get a trigger. Ruka takes 1 damage. Kagetsu then attacks Ravnarel. This one Ruka guards. Turn is over. Damage is now 1-1. Interesting thing about this fight is we actually get a lot of dialogue, surprisingly, and it actually hypes up the fight. Sometimes the dialogue in between turns, or like if they cut away to something else, it takes away from the fight. This is one of those fights where I think it actually just makes it better because of the relationship that these two characters have. We get to see a lot of back and forth between them, because not only does Kagetsu have some trauma, I guess you could say, from her up and leaving, but they have a legit rivalry. and you see it more as the game unfolds. But going into the next turn, Ruka apologizes for making him wait so long, and Kagetsu explains that she crushed him the last time they played. She remembers it as she barely won, but in his mind, it was such a ridiculous defeat because she had beaten with a style of card fighting he had never seen. He was so used to the hyper competitive, I need to be the best, I always need to win, the obsessive kind of mindset, where she played to enjoy herself, to have fun, and just be free and not be forced to play any kind of way. And she beat him, and that like changed his whole outlook on everything. But hearing the way he saw their fight really actually hypes her up, and she's like, okay, cool, I need to make it worth it that you waited this long. But turn 4, Ruka rides One Who Arrived at Paradise, Nocturne. Ruka uses Yotel's skill, which calls itself from the soul. Now, they don't say this, but I caught this. It either soul charges one, or it puts a card from drop into soul, because when you see her soul later, she has a full soul for the amount of cards that she should have had. Ruka calls a new card, Leaves Feather Dragon, and uses its skill. Auto when this unit is placed on rear guard, counterblast 1, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and call a unit. She calls, I'm going to butcher this name, Elusive Ewing Dragon, Fajarmja. It's a grade 1. She calls it with the skill. She ends up attacking with Fajarmja. She had called it to the front row. Kagetsu doesn't guard. Ruka attacks with Nocturne. This one Kagetsu guards. Ruka doesn't get a trigger. Kagetsu takes 1 damage. Ruka then attacks with the Leaves Feather. Kagetsu guards this one, turns over. Damage is now 2-1 with Ruka in the lead. Now, Ruka points out how much Kagetsu's changed. She could say his will is honed, almost like a blade that can pierce steel. And Kagetsu points out that Ruka hasn't changed at all, and that's why she's worth defeating. That his reason for playing Vanguard is to beat her. And she remembers from years ago when she had asked him why he plays Vanguard. And he says that I, too, have chosen to reach out my hand. Which I thought was a cool line, because then it cuts to Akina, since again, him stealing Akina's line. Now, the reason I enjoyed this fight a lot was because of the difference in Kagetsu. The entirety of last season, except maybe the last fight with Akina, he wasn't really into any of his fights. He was just kind of there, just chilling. Like, you didn't see any real emotion from the guy. He was just, everything was nonchalant, and everything was kind of like he didn't care. But in this fight especially, you see him, he's like a whole different person, like a kid on Christmas, because he gets so deep into the fight. And I love when he goes into his turn 3, because he hits her with the Trial of the Moon that he hit Akina with. You see the screen turn black, the moon comes up, and they're on a whole other planet. And Kagetsu rides Keeper of the Moonrise Ruger. Kagetsu activates the skill of his Moon Gate. For anybody that doesn't remember what the Moon Gate does, act, Order Zone, Energy Blast 3, and rest this card. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck for up to 1 unit with Mythic in its card name, and grade less than equal to your Vanguard from among them. Call it to rearguard and shuffle the deck. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Vs Ruka in its card name, instead of choosing up to 1 and calling it, choose up to 3 from among them, call up to 1 to the rear, and put the rest of the chosen cards into the Order Zone and shuffle the deck. Off of this skill, Kagetsu calls the first Mythish Wolfzahn Rostinir. Sorry for the stutter. And then Kagetsu activates Vs Ruger's skill, his first skill, because he has 3. Act Vanguard once per turn, Soul Blast 2, choose a Moon Gate from your Order Zone, choose one of its original act abilities and activate it without paying the cost. With this one, Kagetsu calls a copy of Ragnarau. Now, I do not know what Kagetsu put into the Order Zone, but he did in fact put cards into the Order Zone. They just don't show it, because he ends up calling the cards later. Kagetsu then activates the Order card, Amor Sem Veridario. I hope I said that right. But what this does is you play this if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Vs Ruka in its card name. You choose one of your rear guards. You choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it, and all your Vanguards gain the skill Auto Vanguard once per turn when your rear guard with Mythish is in its card name is placed on rear guard by this unit's ability until the end of turn. The cost of that unit's original auto ability is reduced by 1 counterblast till end of turn. God, some of these cards are wordy. But with this skill, Kagetsu retires the Yotel. Kagetsu then attacks with Rostinir and uses Rostinir's skill. So auto, when this unit is placed on rear guard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Vs Ruka in its card name, until the end of turn when this unit would attack, you choose one of your opponent's front or rear guard circles, and it battles your opponent's Vanguard and the rear guard, all units on your opponent's chosen rear guard circle. So when he attacks the Leaves Feather Dragon and Ruka's Vanguard. Ruka guards the Vanguard attack, but lets the Leaves Feather Dragon get hit. Kagetsu then attacks with Vs Ruka and uses Vs Ruka's second skill. Auto Vanguard when this unit attacks, counterblast 1. Choose up to 2 units with Mythish in their card name from your order zone. Call them each 2 rearguard circles in the same column, and all of your front row units get 5k power. With this skill, Kagetsu calls Rosnir and Ravnarel and gives the front row 5k. Ruka doesn't guard the Vanguard attack. Kagetsu gets a front trigger on the twin drive. Ruka takes 1 damage. Kagetsu then attacks with Ravnarel. Ruka guards. Kagetsu then attacks with his new copy of Rosnir, targeting her for Jarmja, the grade 1, and her Vanguard. Ruka doesn't guard either of the attacks. Ruka takes 1 damage, and her grade 1 is retired. Turn is over. The damage is now 2-3, with Kagetsu in the lead. Now we have turn 6. Ruka rides one who guides toward paradise, Nanaclear. This is her new grade 3. This is the first time we're getting to see it. Ruka uses the skill of her grade 1 that was attacked last turn from the drop, which is for Jarmja. Auto, rearguard, or drop when your other card is discarded from hand during your turn. Energy Blast 3 and remove this card. Choose one of your discarded cards and put it into her hand. So she adds the card she discarded back to hand. Now, I need to point this out now because the first few skills here are a little bit weird. They've got to be Energy Blast costs because her Soul and her Counterblast don't get used for the first few skills. I can actually tell you exactly where she Counterblasts going into the rest of the turn. I'm going to assume they're Energy Blast costs. But first off, we have Nocturne. Nocturne has the same skill as the grade 1. It calls itself from the Soul when it's ridden upon, but then it puts a card from your drop into the Soul. This one, they actually tell us it puts a card from drop into Soul. I'm not so sure about the grade 1. But then we get to see Nanaclear's first skill, which lets Ruka look at the top 5 cards of the deck and call one. She ends up calling a card called One Who Arrived at Paradise, Weaselane, and it gains 5k power. Now, I don't know the cost for this skill. I'm assuming it's an Energy Blast cost because they don't show her that her Soul is full and she still has 2 face-up damage. She only used 1 last turn for Leaves Feather. So keep that in mind. Ruka then activates an order card called Seed Mill Fealty, which allows her to call a unit from the drop. She ends up calling her Yotel back. So now we get to see the condition of her deck. When she has 3 or more units with One Who Arrived at Paradise in their name, her world becomes Stray Garden. And it's kind of, I guess that you could say it's kind of like Orifice condition, where if you had the set orders, you get Abyssal Dark Knight. This one's Stray Garden, which gives her Vanguard triple drive. Now, as far as I can tell from the translation, since it's One Who Arrived at Paradise, the Vanguard doesn't count because the Vanguard is one who guides toward paradise. But she's got the grade 1, the grade 2, and the unit she just called from the top of the deck, and that should trigger Stray Garden, as far as I can tell. Either way, Nanaclear now has triple drive. They don't say drive +1, they say triple drive. Ruka then calls a Diantha from hand and uses its skill. Auto, when this unit is placed on rearguard from hand, if your Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, Counterblast 1, choose a grade 3 or less card from your drop, call it to rearguard. She calls Heartful Pompilidio. What a name. She moves to her battle phase. Ruka attacks with the Weaselane. Kagetsu intercepts with Rosnir and uses Vs Ruka's third skill. Auto, when your unit with Mythish and its card name is put on the Guardian, put a card with Mythish and its card name from your drop to the bottom of your deck, and that unit gets 5,000 shield. Ruka then attacks with her Vanguard and uses its skill, Counterblast 1, stand to rearguard. Kagetsu doesn't guard, and Ruka gets a critical on her triple drive. She gives the power to Pompilidio and gives the critical to her Vanguard. Kagetsu now takes 2 damage. Ruka then attacks with Weaselane. Kagetsu guards. Ruka then attacks with Pompilidio. Kagetsu guards. Ruka then activates Weaselane's skill. At the end of turn, you put it to the Soul and you get to draw a card. Turn is over. Damage is now 4-3 with Ruka in the lead. Now we get a big monologue from Kagetsu, where Kagetsu says that he wants to master his style in order to overcome Ruka. That his style is about being obsessed with winning, and that whole thing has defined his style. And Ruka asked him, was like, okay, cool, if you beat me, what are you going to do after that? And he says, I will worry about that after I beat you. Because right now, he is locked in on smoking her. And you know what? This next turn, he goes crazy. So turn 7, Kagetsu Persona rides Vs Ruka. He then uses Vs Ruka's skill to activate the Moon Gate. He ends up calling a new card. And I was really happy to see a brand new card. It's called the third Mythish. I'm going to butcher this name. Hel Hostivnir Hagavar. Helgastivnir Helgavar? Or Helhastivnir Helgavar. Sorry, I tried it. The name's hard. But anyway, guess what it does? As soon as he calls it, he gets to add a Leaf Gomani from deck to hand. That's already crazy. Because the deck already plays a lot of orders, so if you can cut down and be able to search them, fire. Kagetsu then calls a copy of Rostanir and a copy of the second Mythish Midgard Stormer Garzorms from his hand. He then plays the Leaf Gomani. Remember, doesn't remember what Leaf Gomani does. This card is a finisher card if I've ever seen one. You choose one of your grade 3 or greater Vanguards with Vs Ruka in its card name, and it gets continuous. All of your rear guards with Mythish in their card name get 5,000 power until end of turn, and all of your rear guards with Mythish in their card name that were placed by your card's ability this turn get 5,000 power on top of that. So the grade 1 he called off the skill has 10,000 on it. But then Kagetsu goes straight to his battle phase. He attacks with Rostanir, swings at Nannicleer and the grade 3, but then Ruka just uses the grade 3 skill. What it does is auto from a rear guard when your Vanguard is attacked by your opponent's rear guard, retire this unit, choose one of your opponent's rear guard, and increase that unit's power by its original power until end of turn. So it's a grade 2, it's minus 10,000. Ruka then shield guards the attack. Kagetsu then uses the new grade 1 skill, which again, fire. It already searches order. It already searches an order. But then what it does is after that boost, you move it to the soul and you countercharge 1. They gave our boy countercharge and they gave him soul support because the deck blows through soul like you wouldn't believe, and it blows through counterblast. So now they gave him a card that has both a soul and a countercharge. This is probably going to be a 4 in the deck, let's be real. Kagetsu attacks with Vs Ruka, uses Vs Ruka's skill, counterblast 1, calls a copy of Rostanir and Garzorms from the order zone. And now we get to remember Garzorm's other skill. So when Garzorm auto, when this unit is placed on rear guard during your battle phase, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard Vs Ruka in its card name, counterblast 1 until the end of your opponent's next turn. This unit cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects, and it can attack from the back row, which he now triggered that skill. And then it also has continuous during your turn. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets 5,000 power. If you play a normal order this turn, this unit gets 15,000 power instead of 5,000. But also remember, those were called by effects. They're also getting 10,000 power because of the order that he played earlier. Ruka doesn't guard the Vanguard. Kagetsu gets a double trigger. He gets a critical on his first check, giving the critical to his Vanguard and the power to Garzorm. So Garzorm's already massive. And then he also gets a draw trigger, giving 10,000 power to Rosanir and drawing another card. Unfortunately, Ruka gets a heal trigger as her 5th damage, keeping her down to 4 and also giving her 10,000 power to her Vanguard. It is what it is. But Kagetsu attacks with the Garzorms. Ruka doesn't guard, she takes 1 damage. Kagetsu then attacks with Rostanir. This one she's able to guard. And then Kagetsu has another column with a Garzorms and a back row, swings for 60k, and unfortunately she saved the perfect guard. She's able to block the attack and she lives through his turns. The damage is now 4 to 5 with Kagetsu in the lead. They have a big back and forth about getting stronger, where she says that he's gotten like 100 times stronger. She needs to get 100 times stronger to beat him, and he's saying he's going to get 1,000 times stronger to beat her. But now we go into the final turn of the game, guys. Turn 8, Ruka Persona rides Nannicleer. She immediately uses Nannicleer's skill, checks the top 5, calls Lee's Feather Dragon off from the top 5, and then this somehow triggers Stray Garden. There must be some sort of rear guard I didn't see, or maybe Lee's Feather Dragon is actually, one of the Paradise rear guards, but she says it triggers Stray Guard, and then she uses Leaf Feather's skill because it was played. Counterblast 1, look at the top 3 and call a dude, but because she's in Stray Garden, she actually gets to check top 7 instead of top 5. So she checks top 7 and calls Tideline Dragon. This one kind of surprised me. But then she uses Tideline's skill, which is act rear guard once per turn. If you Persona roll this turn, Soul Blast 1 and choose one of your units. That unit and this unit get plus 10,000 power until end of turn. She gives 10,000 to Tideline, she gives 10,000 to Leaf Feather. And then she plays another copy of her order, Seed Mill Fealty, but it has a second skill. Instead of calling a unit from the drop, she gets to choose a rear guard, give it 5k, and then if it stands, it's going to gain an extra critical. So she gives it to the Leaf Feather Dragon. Now she moves to her battle phase, and she attacks with the Leaf Feather Dragon. And she uses another one of its skills where if she's in Straight Garden, it gains 10k power. I don't know if it's till end of battle or end of turn, they did not specify, unfortunately. But Kagetsu doesn't guard, Kagetsu now goes to 5. Ruka attacks with Nannicleer and uses its skill to stand Leaf's Feather Dragon, which now gains its critical. So Kagetsu double guards and intercepts using his Vanguard skill. So he guards with 2 shields, double intercepts, and uses his Vanguard skill on both of his rear guards. So he bomb decks 2 Mythish. Now he gets an extra 10k shield between the 2 rear guards, well, 5k for each. So he guards with 53,000 to her 38, so it's 2 to pass. This one made me sad, but on her second drive check, Ruka got a draw trigger, gave the power to Vanguard, drew a card. She accurately guessed that Kagetsu had 2 PGs in hand, and that he was saving it for the rear guards, which were larger. So the only way she was going to win is if she banked it on the Vanguard, and so she had to take the gamble, because otherwise the game was over. And she got a critical trigger on her third check, gave all the effects to the Vanguard, pushed through Kagetsu's guard, Kagetsu took a damage, and the game was over. Ruka wins 6 to 5. And immediately, Kagetsu's like, I still can't catch up to you. So he's like, you know what? I'm formally challenging you again after the Deluxe. And she's like, I promised you, because she made a joke about it during the match that she was going to play him 3 days and 3 nights straight. And she's like, I promised you 3 days and 3 nights straight, so we'll get on it. He's like, and he legit tells her, give me your phone number because I don't want you disappearing on me again. And adorably, she doesn't have one, and he like gets on her case about it. They have a really cute interaction. And then we get to see the next matchup. And they're sitting in a room, Michiru, Danji, Mirai. And Danji, because he knows Michiru is a space case, is like, hey, you know your match is coming up, you gotta get ready. And Mirai is like, hey, you know my match is coming up too, right? Because he was more worried about Michiru. And Michiru and Mirai have a small little interaction. You could see the tension because, you know, they both are like vying for Danji's attention. And it's silly. And then we get the poster of the next matchup, which I'm already calling it. Michiru is gonna win. I'm gonna be sad, but at least we get to watch Mirai play. And then we get to see something cool. I heard they were doing this. I wasn't sure if they were still a thing, but apparently they're doing different endings for all of the episodes. And this episode's ending was all focused on Kagetsu and Ruka, and I loved it. So yeah, that's the end of the episode, guys. Let me know what you guys thought of this first episode, this first fight. I definitely thought it was a great way to start the season. Well, technically second episode, but you know what I mean. It's the first matchup of the season. I don't know how interested I am in Ruka's cards. Seems a little basic. I am very interested in Kagetsu's new cards, because now that makes me want to do all kinds of crazy things with the ratios, because I love the Moon deck. But again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you guys want to check me out on social media, those links will be down below. Guys, there will not be a Cardfight Vanguard stream this week. I was making the announcement later today, but this week is going to be weird. So just keep an eye out for that. Hope you guys will still come by my other streams and hang out. That's going to be it from me. I'm going to catch you guys on the next video. Later.
Seeing in my eyes, I was born for this. I got demons on my side, doing high like this. I got reason to believe, I don't mean it from my kiss. Only I can change the world and it go like this.